Big Blue, stop right now. MetLife Stadium just exploded with breaking news, and the first number on the table is 23rd. That's where Pro Football Focus just ranked this wide receiver room after 6 additions this offseason. On top of that, a $14 million name in Jacksonville could fall straight into Joe Schoen's lap, and Darnell Mooney's roster spot just got shakier because of a trade nobody in New York saw coming. Here's your first payoff. New England just sold a 25-year-old receiver for a backup safety and a 2028 7th-round pick. If you bleed blue, white, and red more than you hate the Eagles, hit like and subscribe. We start in the receiver room. Stay locked. There's a double cliffhanger at the end. 5 veteran free agents, 1 third-round rookie, millions of dollars spent, and a football team that still can't answer the simplest question in the sport. Who plays across from your best player? Giants fans, be honest with me in the comments. Did any of you actually believe this receiver room was fixed? Because Pro Football Focus just gave you the verdict, and it is brutal. New York, 23rd. 23rd out of 32 teams in wide receiver corps rankings, even after the Giants spent an entire offseason throwing money at the position. And the reason this stings so much is what caused it in the first place. When Wan'Dale Robinson leads your team in targets, alarms go off in every corner of the building. Schoen heard them. He responded with volume. 6 low-cost additions in one offseason. A shotgun blast of names designed to raise the floor. Darnell Mooney was the headline signing. Calvin Austin III came in and could have contributed, but he sustained a knee injury. Malachi Fields arrived in the 3rd round out of Notre Dame. Then came the names that made social media lose its mind. Odell Beckham Jr., Juju Smith-Schuster, and Braxton Berrios. And here's the part that should genuinely worry Big Blue Nation. Smith-Schuster has already been let go. Beckham Jr. and Berrios are fighting for roster spots right now, in the final days before cuts. That's not a receiver room, that's an audition line. PFF did offer one caveat, and it matters. The group jumps up a few spots with a healthy Malik Neighbors. A healthy Malik Neighbors. Read that again, because the entire New York passing game is balanced on the health of one man's body, and that is the most dangerous sentence a general manager can hear. Mooney was supposed to be the answer, and the numbers don't back it. He failed to surpass 500 receiving yards last season. That's not a WR2 in this league. That's a rotational piece being asked to carry a starter's workload. And now the Giants are openly hoping a 3rd-round rookie takes hold of the WR2 role, which analysts across the league are calling a bad sign. Not a slight on Fields, who's had an encouraging offseason, but a red flag about the roster around him. If that Notre Dame kid contributes in any meaningful way this season, it should be treated as a major bonus, not the plan. Now let's talk about who really pays the price. Jackson Dart. The young quarterback the franchise is building around. Without another go-to option on the outside, Dart will always be one Neighbors injury away from watching the entire passing game collapse. That's the tightrope this offense walks every single Sunday. There's one genuine lift here, and it's not even a receiver. Tight end Isaiah. Likely Big Blue's most expensive signing of the entire offseason, will help the passing game. But even he remains unproven in a truly major role. So the most expensive answer to the receiver problem is a tight end who has never been the guy. Let me ask you straight up, is this a Band-Aid roster or a real plan? Does Fields win the WR2 job outright, or does someone off the street beat him out by week 3? Drop your answer below, and if you've been screaming about this position group since last season, smash that like button so the algorithm knows Giants fans were right. Because the fix isn't free agency, it's draft capital, and the 2027 draft class is expected to hold some of the best wide receiver prospects to come out in years. Miss that window and this problem doesn't get solved, it gets inherited. But before any of that, there's a much more immediate question, and it landed on Schoen's desk this week, because one of those 6 additions may not even make the 53. A trade in the AFC just set the price for exactly the kind of player New York is shopping, and the number is insulting. Stay locked. Monday afternoon. A phone rings in Foxborough. A deal gets done in about the time it takes to order lunch. And somewhere in East Rutherford, a Giants executive quietly closed his laptop and realized the plan wasn't going to work. Big Blue Nation. This is the story nobody's putting on the highlight shows, and it directly decides whether a starter you paid for is still on this roster in 10 days. The trade. New England sent receiver Kayshon Boutte to the Houston Texans for backup safety Jalen Reed and a 2028 7th-round pick. That's it. That's the whole package. Now here's why Giants fans should care. For weeks, Houston has been floated among Big Blue fans as the perfect landing spot for either Darnell Mooney or Darius Slayton. The logic was clean. The Texans lost projected starter Jaden Higgins to a torn ACL last week. They needed a receiver immediately. New York had receivers to spare, and then Houston went out and solved the problem without calling the Giants at all. Worse, they set the price. Because the question everyone skipped past on social media is the only one that actually matters. If the Giants trade Mooney, what do they get back? We floated Boot as a trade candidate after the draft, and the expectation around the league was a 5th or 6th round pick. Instead, New England got a backup safety and a pick that doesn't even land until 2028. Two things can be true at once. Either Houston simply didn't have to give up much for a young receiver, or Butte never had the value people assumed. And neither possibility bodes well for New York. Because if that's the going rate for a 25-year-old, what exactly is a veteran coming off a sub-500-yard season worth? Best case in a Mooney trade might be a conditional draft pick. Let's talk about the roster math because it's tighter than fans realize. Malik Neighbors and Malachi Fields are guaranteed spots. Braxton Berrios appears likely to survive final cuts because of his special teams experience. That's how you make a roster in late August, on 4th down, not 1st, which leaves Mooney and Slayton competing for space, and conventional wisdom says the Giants keep at least one of them. Slayton might hold the advantage as the most experienced returning receiver in the building. And yes, there's the thing everybody noticed. Mooney surprisingly didn't play against the Dolphins this past weekend. Coach John Harbaugh clarified it. The veteran had permission to leave the team for his brother's wedding. Family comes first, and if New York parts ways with him, a wedding won't be the deciding factor. It shouldn't be. He'd already heard his name mentioned as a trade or cut candidate before that trip. That's the part that's been true all along. So what's the smart play? Honestly, there's a real argument for keeping him. Mooney played for offensive coordinator Matt Nagy in Chicago. A team could do far worse for a depth receiver, especially one holding its breath about Neighbors' health. Tell me in the comments, do you trade Mooney for a conditional pick or keep the guy who already speaks Nagy's offense? And if you think Schoen missed the window entirely on Houston, hit that like button and let's see how loud this fan base gets. Understand the clock here. There is so much that could change in the next 10 days. Teams must submit initial 53-man rosters by Sunday night, and nobody should be surprised if a wave of notable young receivers hits the market. Mooney, for what it's worth, did not have a catch in the August 15th loss to Minnesota. But while everyone stares at the receiver room, the real upgrade might be hiding 400 miles south. A 6'7", 290-pound problem with a $14 million price tag on his head. And a rival franchise might hand him over for free. Stay locked. $14 million. One decision in Jacksonville, and a defensive line in New York that could go from a genuine weakness to the most physically intimidating interior in the NFC East, without giving up a single draft pick. Big Blue, if you thought the defensive line overhaul was finished when Darius Alexander was the only holdover kept from last season's rotation, think again. Joe Schoen has publicly admitted the front office is still actively hunting for upgrades in the trenches, and the man they should be dialing, Arik Armstead. Here's the setup. The Jaguars are staring at a financial squeeze and a youth movement at the same time. Letting some of their younger guys get more run, Rook or Horhoro for one, means clearing out a veteran's massive contract ahead of the 2026 season. Cutting Armstead saves Jacksonville $14 million in cap space. If that happens, if the Jags gift wrap him to the open market, Schoen needs to be the first phone call. And the urgency is real, because it's been ugly. Darius Alexander's struggles over the first 2 preseason games have been impossible to ignore. He's looked terrible in both outings, especially against the run, routinely outmatched at the point of attack. That is simply not going to fly on a Harbaugh-led team trying to establish itself as a run-stuffing juggernaut. Harbs has been vocal about building a bigger, more physical football team, and here's the thing, it is almost literally impossible to get bigger than Armstead. 6'7", 290 pounds. 32 years old with 41 career sacks and a proven track record of wrecking things up front for a defense that's begging for size. Now let's be honest, because I'm not going to sell you fiction. He's no longer the 10-sack, quarterback-harassing pocket collapser he was in his prime, but he can still push an offensive lineman backward into a quarterback's lap and blow up a play before it starts. That's the job description. Picture it on the field. Armstead on a veteran-laden line next to free agent additions DJ Reader and Shelby Harris. That trio is 925 pounds of space-eating manpower in the middle of the formation. That group could go a long way toward covering the losses of Dexter Lawrence, Raheem Nunez-Roches, and Roy Robertson Harris, the 3 men who manned that line last year. And here's the beautiful part, the chess move. The recent Daniel Falele trade gifted New York another 6th-round pick to use as trade bait. But Harbaugh famously loves his draft picks, and waiting out the market to see what falls from the roster cut tree could be the smarter play. By playing the long game, the Giants secure the high-end trench upgrade they want while holding onto their valuable draft capital. If Armstead falls into their lap, Schoen fulfills Harbaugh's physical blueprint and solidifies the run defense without parting with a single asset. That's wins across the board. So tell me, Big Blue Nation, do you want Schoen aggressive on the phone the second Jacksonville makes it official? Or do you trust Alexander to figure it out with real reps? And is a 32-year-old with 41 career sacks the answer? Or a short-term patch on a long-term wound? Drop it below. And if you want this front office attacking the trenches instead of waiting politely, smash that like button right now and let the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Commanders see how loud this fan base actually is. Because here's what nobody in the division wants to admit out loud. If New York fixes the interior for free while everyone else burns picks, the entire balance of the NFC East shifts in about a week, and the clock on that decision is already running. Stay locked, because the closing minutes tie all three of these stories together. And there are two cliffhangers waiting. 3 stories, one franchise standing at a fork in the road. A receiver room ranked 23rd in the NFL after 6 additions. A trade market that just told New York exactly how little its veterans are worth. And a $14 million defensive lineman who might land on the street at the perfect moment. This franchise isn't finished, and the next move decides the tone of the entire season. Let's be honest about where this leaves you in the division. The offense is one Malik Nubber's hamstring away from disaster, and that's the truth nobody in New York wants to say out loud. But the defense? The defense could become the most physical front in the NFC East by the weekend if Schoen moves fast. Here's what I need from Big Blue Nation. 1. Smash that like if you believe this defensive line ends up better than anybody outside New York expects. 2. Drop a comment with your call on Darnell Mooney, traded, cut, or WR2 by week 1. 3. Subscribe, because every single subscriber makes Eagles fans angrier, and we're covering every move until final cuts. Now, the edge of the cliff. Rosters are due Sunday night, and Mooney's fate could be decided the moment the starters take the field against the Jets on Friday. And on the other side? Jacksonville's $14 million decision could drop any day. And if the Giants aren't first in line, a division rival will be. Which domino falls first? Big Blue stands mighty, like, comment, let's go Giants, and watch the NFC East crumble. See you in the next one.